Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
We're going to raise and support the vehicle using our 2-post lift, but you can use a jack and jack stands. I'm going to replace the vent valve for the emission system. It's up here in the back right corner of the car on this Subaru. Charcoal canister is here and the vent valve is up in here. The new one looks like this. So the electrical connector is on the bottom and there's a little mount here for it with a bolt. And it's just up above the canister. This nut here, it's very, very rusty. Now you're supposed to remove the canister technically to get to this, but I think with a swivel and an extension I can get up here and undo this nut without touching these rusty bolts here. So we're going to replace this, and if this bolt breaks off, it's really not that heavy of a part. If the bolt breaks and we can't reuse it, just use some cable ties to hold it in place. It should be all right. I'm going to spray some rust penetrant on this nut. It's pretty much the rustiest nut ever, but I'll try and get it off. It looks like it's a 12, or what used to be a 12 millimeter. I may need to use a 13 millimeter socket to get it off. So if yours is not rusty, it's probably 12 millimeter. You'll use a 12 millimeter socket, a swivel, and a short extension to get up in here, so you don't have to remove the canister. Get this socket up in here. I'll take the ratchet, try to break it loose. I'm going to unplug the electrical connector of this old vent valve. So push in the lock, there's a white tab. On the other side is a white connector. Push it in. Might have to push it into the connector first to get it loose, and then pull it down. Pretty dirty. There's no clamps on these hoses, so you can just kind of pull them off. And you can't mix them up because they only go a certain way. So now we can see the vent valve sitting there. Let me see if I can just bend it. It might even be so rusty that the bracket will break, which it kind of feels like it might. It's just a thin bracket. So I think what I'm going to do is just break it off and then cable tie the new one in place. If yours comes apart, replace it the way it was in there. If not, you can do this. Sometimes these old Subarus get pretty rusty. So with the old one, it was so rotted, it came right off. Under normal circumstances where you don't have a totally rusted car, you can remove that nut. There's a stud. This sits on top of that flange like this, so you'll just slide it back in place and tighten the nut back up and put it exactly where the original was. Since I just broke it off the bracket, I'm going to put it back up in place, and I'll use some cable ties to just hold it up here where it needs to be in roughly the same place, and that should work just fine for us. We've been having an evap gross leak problem with this car, and this is so rusted and rotted that it's likely that when it's actuating that it's not closing fully, or there's air leaking through here through the rotted spaces. So we're going to swap this out and hopefully that fixes our problem. I'm going to get this up into place roughly where the original one was. I'm actually going to put it over that rusty nut and line it up. I'll take a couple cable ties, or you take one long cable tie. and feed it around. Get it into position here. Okay. Let me get one more around it here. Through this little bracket here. Now, ideally, you were able to just bolt it back in, but if you had to zip tie it in place like me, now you can put your hoses back on. Just slide the front one on, and then slide the rear one on, and then plug the electrical connector back in. It'll click when it locks in place, and so now the valve is replaced. This one isn't ideal because it was so rusty, but this should work. I'm gonna come by here with my side cutters and get rid of the extra zip ties. I'm gonna use a side cutter, get rid of the extra zip ties. There you go, you can lower your vehicle and you should be all set.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.